So you've got to do your dissertation literature review. You might have made a start already, finding relevant books and journal articles, reading through them, making a few notes. But then you hit a brick wall. You get a mental block. You start going around in circles. If you've written anything down, you look at it and you're like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Everyone who has ever written a dissertation, me included, has been in the exact same place as you. So how do you move forward? How do you write a fabulous literature review? Keep watching because I'm going to walk you through a 5-step process for doing just that. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, and for the last 20 years, I've been working as an academic in UK universities, teaching social sciences, doing research, and supporting thousands of students through their dissertations. Through this YouTube channel, I want to share all of the strategies and hacks that I've developed for my students so you can use them too. So let's take a look at that 5-step process. Step 1, go back to your dissertation topic to make sure it's set up for a literature review. Step 2, identify a list of questions that you want the literature to answer. Step 3, develop a record-keeping system for everything you read. Step 4, build out your literature review structure. Step 5, don't write it up properly yet. Okay, so first up, step 1, go back to your dissertation topic to make sure it's set up for a literature review. It needs to be narrow enough and specific enough to ensure that your literature review is laser focused and strategic. Your dissertation topic, title or question is the most important thing in ensuring you don't get stuck with something that is impossibly big. Every social sciences dissertation topic, title or question needs to have 3 key things in it. People, a group of people who have at least one thing in common, issue or interest, an issue that these people are experiencing or an interest that they have. Context, a place or space, virtual or real, in which this is all playing out. Here are some examples that have all 3, so you might want to pause the video for a moment to take a look at them. If you want a more detailed explanation of people, issue or interest, and context, check out this video right here, and I'll also link to it in the description. So why does every dissertation need these 3 key things? Because this ensures that your topic is specific enough. If you're missing one or more of these things, you are going to get stuck really quickly. If your supervisor's told you that your topic is too broad and needs to be narrowed down, and if you haven't done that, you are going to run into difficulties when it comes to writing up your literature review, because the range of literature that is potentially relevant to your topic is going to be huge, and you're going to get really overwhelmed incredibly quickly. Whilst you might be able to make a start on a literature review, you're not going to get very far with it. Say, for example, your topic is domestic abuse. After you've looked at some of the general literature on domestic abuse, you are going to be like, right, what now? Because you only have an issue. You don't have people, you don't have context. However, if you're doing your dissertation on experiences of domestic abuse among queer young people in the West Midlands region of the UK, you are really well set up for your literature review because you have people, queer young people, a context, the West Midlands region, as well as your issue, domestic abuse. You will be in a really strong position to start developing some questions to ask of the literature, which brings me on to step 2. But before we do, a quick side note. If you are finding this video helpful so far, if you're going to use people, issue or interest and context to supercharge your own dissertation title, hit that like button down there. It really does make a huge difference. Okay, step 2. Identify a list of questions that you want the literature to answer. Hopefully now you have a specific targeted topic or title with people, an issue or interest and a context. What you need to do now is identify some questions to approach the literature with. You can use the headings of people, issue or interest and context again here. So let's stick with our example question. Our people are queer young people. So what questions do we need the literature to answer here? Essentially, we want to learn more about queer young people. So how many young people identify as queer? What experiences of life of queer young people had? When we think about the domains of family, education, religion, what's been going on there? When it comes to queer young people, what are their strengths and needs, their challenges and opportunities? When we get to know the literature around our people really well, that will be so helpful when we come to think about their experiences of the issue that they're facing. Next, we look at our issue, domestic abuse. So what questions do we want to ask about that? What is domestic abuse? What does it look like? Who is affected by it? And we can bring in some questions about our people here too. We don't want to look at domestic abuse in isolation. We want to look at it mindful of queer young people. So what does the literature say about queer people's experiences of domestic abuse? Are queer people under or overrepresented in the statistics about domestic abuse? Are they more or less likely than non-queer people to experience domestic abuse? Are they more or less likely to report it? And here we can link back to what we found out earlier in relation to queer young people's experiences of life in general. So when we look at the literature about the experiences of queer young people in general, what implications does this have for their experiences of domestic abuse? What does the literature say about this? Lastly, we look at our context and we ensure that our people and issue are threads that run through these questions too. What does the literature say about the West Midlands region of the UK? What research has been done about domestic abuse in this area, about queer young people in this area? What are the unique features of this region that might impact upon queer young people's experiences of domestic abuse there? What are the economic and the social and cultural characteristics of this region? So at this point, you are armed with an array of questions that you can use as you explore the literature. Create a document that has all of these questions within it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a plain old Word document will do. Next up, step 3. You need to develop a record keeping system for everything that you read. You will be reading a lot of stuff, so you need to make sure that you keep track of everything and get it into a format that you can use when you come to write up your literature review. You might develop an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document with a table in it where you keep all of this vital information. There are 4 things that you absolutely need to note down. Firstly, the referencing details of each item, the author, the year, the title, etc. Secondly, you will need a description of this item. What does the author say? What arguments are being made? What position does this item take? What theory does it draw upon? Thirdly, you'll need an interpretation. So how is this item relevant for your dissertation? Which of your literature review questions does it answer? Does it raise any new points that you need to consider? Fourthly, you'll need an evaluation of the item. Here, you make a judgment about the value of this piece of literature for your dissertation. What does it contribute to your knowledge of one or more areas of your dissertation? How convincing is it in providing an answer to one or more of your literature review questions? Does it answer your questions to a great extent, to some extent, not at all? If you do all of these things for every item that you read, you are going to be in a position to write a fabulous literature review. Another quick side note here. If you're going to use any of the tips I've shared so far, and if you're nodding along to this video saying, yes, she's talking to me, take a moment to hit that subscribe button because I have a lot more videos just like this one on the way. Step 4, build out your literature review structure. Your basic structure can be as simple as people, issue or interest, context. So using the example, you would have your first heading as queer young people, your second heading as domestic abuse, and your third as the West Midlands region of the UK. Then within those headings, you add subheadings. For example, under domestic abuse, you might have the nature and scale of domestic abuse, the demographics of domestic abuse within queer communities, tackling domestic abuse. And as you go through, you might decide that one of the subheadings is particularly important and it needs to become a main heading. So for example, you might come across something called queer theory in reading about queer young people and think, oh, that needs to be a heading. That needs to stand on its own because it's massively important. So feel free to play around with the headings and don't worry if they change and if they shift throughout the course of your literature review. You'll find yourself playing around with the structure of your literature review a lot, and that is perfectly fine. It's all part of the process. Now for one of the most common questions I get about literature reviews. How many headings should I have in my literature review in total? Most really good literature reviews have between 3 and 5 headings. So you shouldn't have any less than 3 and you shouldn't have more than 5. So those are the numbers to aim for. But how do you bring all of this together in some kind of logical order? The analogy that I always use when I'm explaining how to structure a literature review is a food-related one. Treat your literature review like you're serving up a lovely 3 to 5 course meal. You don't slap all of the dishes on the table at once. You serve up the courses one at a time. You take it slowly and steadily, and you pace yourself. You take the time to enjoy the first course and consider the flavours and the textures of it before you move on to the next one. And you do the same for every course after that. And this is what you should be doing with each of the sections of your literature review. Slow and steady. Allow the time to digest each course. You don't have a bit of dessert and then soup and then go back to the dessert. You don't pour it all into a big bucket and grab a spoon and try and pick your way through it. Because if you do that, those nuances, those flavours, those textures, they all become lost in the mush. And that is what far too many students do when it comes to their literature review. They throw it all into a bucket, shake it up, and pour it over the page. You come across a bit of the main course, then a bit of the starter, and then another bit of the main course, and a bit of the starter again, and it is a complete mess. And as the person reading it, to be honest, you feel a bit brain sick. So take one thing at a time, one heading at a time, one subheading at a time. And for every item that you read, figure out where it's going to fit in the structure of your literature review before you start writing anything. There might be some items that are relevant under more than one heading, and that is absolutely fine. But make sure everything you've read can be located somewhere in that outline structure before you start writing it up. And that brings me quite nicely onto the fifth and final point. Don't write it up properly yet. When you get to this stage and you've got your items of literature located under your main headings, it can be very tempting to start properly writing up in full sentences, in full paragraphs, crafting the perfect piece of academic writing. Please don't do this yet because it is a waste of your time right now. As you go on to do your methodology chapter, design your study, collect and analyse your data, things will change. They really will. Literature that seemed super important at the start might not seem so important at the end. You might find that you need to add to your literature review and go out and find more stuff, because when you're doing your data collection or your analysis, you think about something that's super important that you would never have thought was relevant to your topic when you first started out. So rather than writing up your literature review in perfect academic language and wasting 2 hours trying to get that one sentence right, write in bullet points. Use keywords and terms. So, for example, rather than writing out an entire paragraph about heteronormativity in domestic abuse support services, just write this bullet point under the relevant heading. Heteronormativity in domestic abuse support services. That's enough for now, because you know what this means. You've read a paper about it. You've got your notes on that paper. You can write it up later. And that is my 5-step process for getting your literature review underway or back on track. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you'd like more dissertation advice and tips on topics like this, and this, and this, and all of these, become a Degree Doctor Insider and sign up for my email subscriber list. And if you sign up right now, using the link in the description, you will get these lovely freebies that are going to be super helpful in keeping your dissertation on track. I will see you back here soon for more dissertation tips.